And actually show Jordan some love. James Jones is here, and his answer may surprise you. Will Tua be enough to get the Dolphins into the playoffs in 2020? And for that matter, can the Bucs and the boys make the leap? Plus, we are handing out draft grades for the NFC East. All of it coming up next on NFL Total Access. And with that, we welcome you to what I believe is a Tuesday, I think it's Tuesday, edition of NFL Total Access from a guest room somewhere in Los Angeles. My name is Andrew Siciliano. Wherever you are watching this show, hopefully you are healthy and you are safe. Thank you for spending an hour of football with us. Brian Billick, Steve Smith Sr., Tom Pelissero, Daniel Jeremiah, and Bucky Brooks join me shortly. On a day in which the deal becomes official in New Orleans, Jameis Winston is a Saint. We have news about the quarterback for his now former team. That is Tom Brady. You heard the story last week, didn't you, that Brady walked into some random home in Tampa because he thought it was the home of his new offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich. He immediately realized he was in the wrong house, left, and then found Byron Leftwich's house. Tom Pelissero is with me now to try to make sense of that one, Tom, because the league had to look into it because you're not supposed to, during the quarantine of the building shutdown, actually be having these kinds of in-person team meetings. What did they decide?
Well, that's right, Andrew. Other NFL teams raised this as an issue to the league office and wanted to see the Buccaneers punished after Tom Brady visited Byron Leftwich's house after that brief detour. During the current virtual period of the offseason, you cannot have any in-person interaction. And even if this were a normal offseason, during the dead period, you cannot have coaches and players getting together to talk football. The NFL did conduct an inquiry, and according to league spokesman Brian McCarthy, they found no violation. It was a brief personal visit, McCarthy said. Tom picked up his playbook. That explanation may not fly with other teams, but as far as the league is concerned, Andrew, no violation, no discipline.
All right, they were just exchanging pleasantries and picking up a playbook. Thank you, Tom. Brady now is there in Tampa, although he can't be in the same room with Ronald Jones, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and, that Rob Gronkowski guy. They also added Tristan Wirfs and Keyshawn Vaughn, the running back out of Vanderbilt there on day 2 of the draft. I'm fairly certain Brian Billick and Steve Smith are in the correct homes. They are in their homes. They're with me live now on Total Access. Coach, start with you. What's the biggest challenge for Brady and the Bucs this year?
Well, I think expectations. I mean, Tom Brady, obviously, his entire career, it's been Super Bowl or bust. If it's not a Super Bowl, it's not a successful year. With all, with Tom Brady, with Gronk, good solid draft with the assets they have on the offensive side. The expectations of not only the city of Tampa, but the entire country is, it's off the roof. It's akin to last year. Who was the darling? It was the Cleveland Browns, and they were going to run through. They're going to be a dominant team. So with Tampa Bay being on the edge of it, with what they've got now, clearly it's with those expectations, and it's not going to be enough during the course of the regular season. Even if they do well, it's going to be, okay, well, that's fine. Let's see what they do in the playoffs. So dealing with that, not tampering them down, but dealing with that is something that obviously Brady's going to have to lead them through.
I agree with you, Coach. Having big expectations is going to be there. But we're talking about Tom Brady. He comes with those expectations that everyone has been accustomed to seeing. And that's the reason why you have a guy like Gronk coming out of retirement. Hell, if I was a little bit younger, I'd come out of retirement just because you want to play with some of the greatest players out there. And Tampa Bay has risen their level of expectations. The fans, they're selling out. Chris Godwin had to really kind of decide if he was going to give up his number. You don't want to be the guy that doesn't give Tom Brady his number. So the expectations is a great subject, and it will be something that we'll be watching, just like you said, with the Cleveland Browns all year.
Like watching The Last Dance, you didn't want to be on the Bulls team that couldn't win Jordan a championship. The Buccaneers kind of have that same thing. Somewhat different, though. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Coach. Both back a little bit later on NFL Total Access. Tom Brady is not the only new quarterback in the state of Florida. In Miami, Tua Tagovailoa, that man right there with mom and dad and family last Thursday, is the new guy in Miami. Brian Flores was on with our friend Mike Tirico recently and said, you know, that workout on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, that actually did play a factor.
It just kind of reinforced and confirmed some of the things that our doctors had mentioned to us. So, it was important. It was good to see it. He looked good in the tape, but obviously, that's 9 minutes. That's very different from having a 2.5 hour practice or playing in a game. So, but I thought he looks good for where he was and where he was when he initially got the injury and where he was at that point.
So that thing actually did factor, and once Tua went 5, that left Justin Herbert there for the Chargers at number 6. Interesting comments this morning from LA GM Tom Telesco on with Pat McAfee when McAfee laid out a hypothetical scenario.
If Justin Herbert goes 5 to Miami, is Tua a Los Angeles Charger?
Yeah, we felt great about both guys. Well, actually, we felt great about all 3 quarterbacks that went in the top 6. So all 3 are going to be really good players in this league, and that it's a comforting factor to know. I mean, hopefully we don't pick 6 very often.
True.
If we do, I won't be making very many picks here. So if you're going to pick this high, and there's a potential down the road franchise quarterback there that you like, you have to take them. And we were lucky to have some quarterbacks there in this draft that were really good players.
Interesting there from Tom Telesco. Daniel Jeremiah on his final day before a quarantine vacation joins us live now on Total Access. You had been calling the Jordan Love one. He went after Herbert there in the first round for a while on your podcast. Then when you throw in Jalen Hurts, DJ, try to compare those two. Which was the more surprising quarterback pick?
Well, I think when you look at Aaron Rodgers' age, it made sense. I mean, at least you could have the theory in place, which we talked about a bunch in the run-up to the draft, that could happen with Jordan Love. I don't think anybody saw the Eagles taking Jalen Hurts, and I think that was the more surprising move. I do want to point out, though, I don't know if this has been explained as much through this process, he was worthy of being picked in the second round. He was my 50th overall player. He was a 53rd pick. Jalen Hurts was my 5th quarterback. So the talent is there. I just think with Carson Wentz, in the prime of his career, having just signed that contract, it kind of took everybody for a loop there. When you look, say, second round, man, that's early to draft a backup quarterback. But I thought the Eagles have done a nice job explaining why they did what they did, and they believe in investing heavily in the most important position. So they had a plan, they executed it, and Jalen Hurts will get on the field a little bit. I don't anticipate we'll see a lot of him over the next few years, but they have a nice insurance policy in place.
Yeah, an insurance policy on a guy that already has a $128 million contract in hand and that pays nearly $40 million at least cash this year, as it is front-loaded. All these contracts are. Also, DJ, by the way, on the Move the Sticks podcast, you talk about plug-and-play guys that you take right off the draft board and put on the field. Which team had the most of those?
Well, I love my old team, the Baltimore Ravens, and what they're able to accomplish, and especially at the linebacker position. They got a running back in the second round, J.K. Dobbins, that's going to be a great player, and it's going to fit right in. But we look at Patrick Queen in the first round, and then you come back with Malik Harrison in the third round. I think both those guys are plug-and-play linebackers that really complement each other very well. Patrick Queen with the range to make plays sideline to sideline, that speed. Malik Harrison can come downhill, a little bit bigger guy, can bang, can do some of the dirty work. I remember when I was with the Baltimore Ravens and Coach Billick was there, we had Bart Scott who could do all the take-on, and then Ray Lewis would play over the top. I think they're trying to find that same formula with this pair of linebackers they found in this year's draft. I love what the Ravens did.
All right, because you mentioned Bart Scott, DJ, I can't wait for your steal of the draft. Who is it?
Put it on a tee. Steal of the draft. I'm going to go to the second round. I'm going to go to the Carolina Panthers and Jeremy Chin. Because the reason I say he's a steal they thought about Isaiah Simmons in the first round, and they decided to go Derek Brown. Then they end up getting Jeremy Chin. You see it with the 64th pick, which I thought was tremendous value in and of itself. But they also get a player with a similar skill set to Isaiah Simmons. So I thought that a little bit of a gamble there going with Derek Brown over Simmons. But, man, they got kind of just a little lesser version of Simmons at the 64th pick. So I love that combination of picks there for the Carolina Panthers.
Gotta love it. DJ's back a little bit later. Thank you, sir, with Bucky Brooks for some NFC East draft grade. You see it every year. After a team drafts for 3 days, it's time to cut some veterans. You saw it with DJ. Fluker already has a job, however. Former first-round pick, started 14 games last year for Seattle, has agreed to terms in Baltimore with the Ravens. After 15 years, the Chiefs said goodbye today to Dustin Colquitt, the longtime punter. Said thanks to both the organization and the city on social media. 238 career games, the most in franchise history. And this is not exactly a shocker. However, the Texans are picking up Deshaun Watson's fifth-year option because, of course, they are. The deadline to pick up those options for the 2017 first-round picks is next week. It's coming up on May 4th. They're working on a long-term deal, potentially, Tom. Bill O'Brien said that last week for Deshaun Watson. They are also working on a long-term deal in Kansas City for Patrick Mahomes, as he has an option due as well.
And Andrew, similar to Deshaun Watson, this is a no-brainer, obviously, to pick up Patrick Mahomes' option, in essence, as a placeholder while they continue to work on that long-term deal. We've talked about it since back in Super Bowl week, that the timeline for getting a deal done with Mahomes was always going to be after the draft. Well, here we are. You can expect that things are going to ramp up soon. But keep in mind, the Chiefs, even after cutting Dustin Colquitt, remain pretty tight on the salary cap right now. And they still have to figure out how things are going to play out with defensive tackle Chris Jones, who's eating up over $16 million on the salary cap on that one-year franchise tender. Then let's also not forget about the other quarterback taken and the first quarterback taken back in that 2017 draft, Mitch Trubisky with the Bears. As of tonight, nothing has been communicated to Trubisky about whether or not the Bears are going to pick up his option. We know that he had a breakout year in 2018, inconsistent last year. Now they brought in Nick Foles to compete with him. Well, what I can tell you is that when the Bears began the virtual period of their offseason program last week, Trubisky was there. He has shown up for everything. He has had a good attitude. The Bears say it's going to be a true open competition. Whether or not Trubisky wins that job, it's up to him.
As that decision hangs in the balance. Thank you, Tom Pelissero. Next on NFL Total Access, the Redskins get a gold star for not overthinking Chase Young. The Cowboys get a police report for stealing CeeDee Lamb. The Giants got what they needed. The Eagles got what they wanted. But what do they get from our experts? We're posting draft grades in the NFC East. Plus, in 2019, 20 NFL teams played themselves out of the playoffs. But which two teams just drafted themselves back in? And with the 26th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers drafted the following quarterback.
Jalen Hurts, quarterback. You got your $100 million man there in Carson Wentz, but Jalen Hurts, he's a winner.
School might be out right now, but we're still going to hand out some report cards. Draft grades presented to you by Lexus. Daniel Jeremiah back with me. Bucky Brooks as well. DJ, let's bounce back and forth here between you two. Let's start these with the Cowboys. DJ, what grade do you have for the Cowboys?
First of all, in honor of Mike Mayock, I love draft grades. I'm going to go an A for the Dallas Cowboys for their grade in this draft. And it's not just CeeDee Lamb. It's what they would do after CeeDee Lamb. Especially, I like the corner Reggie Robinson from Tulsa. I believe they got in the 4th round. I thought it was tremendous value for where they're able to pick him up. So when you look at everything they were able to accomplish, you see the list here. Gallimore's ultra athletic. He can get up the field. Javon Diggs was right about where I had him graded. Bradley Anae, a good value. But again, 4th round, Reggie Robinson. I love that pick for the Dallas Cowboys, especially after you lose a guy like Byron Jones. I think everybody assumes Diggs would get that spot. Don't count out Reggie Robinson. Last thing here real quick, though, Buck. That white couch on Jerry Jones' yacht makes me nervous as a father of 4. That thing would be dirty in a heartbeat.
It would be dirty in a heartbeat. But look, I think more people should pick from their yachts if they're going to knock out drafts like the Dallas Cowboys were able to. The New York Giants, though, when I look at their draft, I really like what David Gettleman was trying to do. He was trying to just get solid players, blue chip players, guys that have experience, guys that are ready to step onto the field and make plays. We can talk about Andrew Thomas and Xavier McKinney, Mike Pert. They have some nice players, but ultimately they're going to be judged by the guys at the top, and the guy at the top is Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas, to me, was the safest pick of all those offensive tackles. 41 career starts, experience playing right tackle and left tackle. Look, a physical guy who knocks people around. When you think about the New York Giants and the way they want to play, they want to bully people at the line of scrimmage. They want to hand the ball to Saquon Barkley and protect Daniel Jones. And then on defense, it's all about Xavier McKinney. And Xavier McKinney gives them what I think is another version of what Landon Collins was when he was with the New York Giants, meaning a guy that could drop in the box, he can be a tackling machine, he has great instincts, awareness, a level of physicality that is infectious. More importantly, he's a communicator. He can get everyone lined up and make sure people know exactly what to do. That is how you play good defense. He's a really good fit and a pick for them.
I like that one, Buck. I go to the Philadelphia Eagles, and you gave a B+ to the Giants. I'm going to give a B to the Philadelphia Eagles for what they're able to accomplish. I'm on the record. Look, Jalen Reagor is a good player. I had some other wideouts rated higher than him at that point in time, specifically Justin Jefferson. So I didn't love that pick. I know they wanted speed, and they got speed with him. But I think when you look at what they did beyond those first two picks, which created so much of a stir and talking points, look at John Hightower there in the 5th round, Quez Watkins in the 6th round. That's a result of the depth of the wide receiver class we had this year. I thought those two picks were tremendous value picks. Those guys are going to be able to compete with Jalen Reagor. They have speed. That's what they wanted. They've got speed all over the field right now. Quez Watkins, he goes to the combine, runs in the 4.3. He's actually ran faster than Jalen Reagor. Hightower, we saw him at the East-West game have a phenomenal week down there as you see Watkins rip off that 4.35 40. So their mission was to add speed, and they got that accomplished in this draft. So it's a solid B for me for the Philadelphia Eagles, Buck.
Yeah, DJ, look, they did a really good job. And I know there's a lot of controversy, a lot of conversation about Jalen Hurts, but the rest of their draft was pretty solid. Those guys play well. It won't matter in a few years. For the Washington Redskins, it is all about building a team that can knock off the others in your division. And the best way to do it is to make sure you fortify your defense. When I look at their board, it is all about Chase Young at the top. Chase Young is a generational talent, a gold jacket guy when it comes to the traits that he has. He has all those things that you look for, but it's not only about fortifying their defense, it's giving the quarterback some weapons. We'll see the Antonios, Gibson, and Gandy Golden. Those guys can contribute. Keith Ishmael being a solid player. But first, it is about Chase Young. Chase Young will give them potentially 5 former first-round picks on that D-line rotation. He is a dominant guy. I'm sure he reminds Ron Rivera a little bit of Julius Peppers in terms of the way that he can get around the corner and get to the quarterback. And then the two big guys on the outside, Gibson, a hybrid that may have some Christian McCaffrey to him, and Gandy Golden, a big pass catcher. I like what the Washington Redskins have done. I give them a B for their efforts.
All right, and I'm still trying to recover from that Mayock reference at the top. Whoa, 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 whoa. You could run any tape you want. I'm not giving a grade. Okay? Thank you, DJ. Thank you, Bucky, as we hand out some NFC East draft grades. We want to say congratulations to Carson Wentz and his wife, Maddie Hadley Jane, born Monday. Congratulations, guys. Beautiful little girl, 8 pounds, 2 ounces. The Wentz family has a new addition. Awesome. That is not Marshall Faulk or Brienne Body Calhoun. That's actually Jonathan Taylor. First look at Taylor. He's going to wear 28. That's what he's going to look like in a Colts uniform when he finally gets on the field. And if you were wondering what the virtual offseason will look like, this is what day 1 looked like when the Denver Broncos got together. Just like your happy hour Zoom with your friends from work, but different. remarked he might change the way the Niners do things in the offseason next year, spend more time with the family. I also asked him about all the moves they made. Specifically, they're younger now, but are they better after the draft?
The guy that was number one on our list that we felt we could add to really improve our team was Javon Kinlaw. And, as we got there, it became more and more likely early on. It said he's not going to be there at 13. He's going to be gone. Then all of a sudden we started feeling like there's a chance. We ended up moving back one spot. We got Kinlaw. We let Emmanuel Sanders go, who we had traded a lot for, and really changed our team. Emmanuel Sanders came in and made us better. That was tough to see Emmanuel go. But to have the opportunity to get a guy like Brandon Ayuk, who throughout the draft process just kept growing on us. And, I think my relationship, Herm Edwards is one of my best friends in this world. And what Herm could really do, we could see the talent on film. Our scouts have done a tremendous job of unearthing that. The ultimate result is we came away from the draft process extremely excited. And I think as part of that draft, we got a surprise a little bit before the draft. Not a surprise, because he had kept us in touch. Joe Staley, we knew there was an opportunity or a chance that he wasn't going to be with us, and that was going to be tough. But we were able to pull something off for Trent Williams, which I think was the cherry on top on this draft. And I believe we have a chance to be a better football team this year, and that's very exciting for all of us.
They're still trying to figure out in Green Bay, however, whether or not they should be excited about Jordan Love. Maybe the future, but what about now? D'Angelo Hall, James Jones, Michael Robinson, what say you about that?
James, your old team, the Green Bay Packers, at the 26th pick, they went out there and drafted a quarterback in Jordan Love, who I think has one of the best arm talents in this year's draft. What are your thoughts, man? You do have Aaron Rodgers out there. You know that, right?
Mike Rob, man, it's crazy you came to me first on that, man, but it's all good. But, man, I was sitting here watching it. My first initial thoughts was, what are they doing? Why are they taking the quarterback? Aaron at least got 4-5 good more years left in him. You take a quarterback, he was in the NFC Championship game. You're a couple pieces away of getting to the Super Bowl, compete with these top teams in the NFC. You take a quarterback that, in my humble opinion, ain't going to play for the next 3-4 years, because I know how special Aaron Rodgers is. So, yes, that was my first initial thoughts. Then I thought, okay, Aaron Rodgers, 36. Listen, you got to get a guy that's going to come in there and back him up. He can learn from one of the greatest. I've had plenty of conversations with Aaron, and he's been waiting on this moment. Not saying that he dreamed about it.
He's been waiting on a first-round quarterback to get into the building that he can. What? Hold up.
He's been waiting on this moment to be a leader, Mike Rob, and to show the world that he's one of those guys that is a leader, that wants to help one of these young guys. Because when he came in, I'm not gonna say no names, but he didn't have a good leader to take him under his wing, be like, look, I'm gonna show you. He had a guy like, listen, you the backup. Why did they even draft you? We don't even want you here, basically. You know what I'm saying? So we've had plenty of conversations that when this time came, he was gonna be a true pro, like we all have been. And when the young guys come in, you help them and give them everything they can to succeed.
Yeah, and that's what makes this decision so mind-boggling for me. You got that first-round pick sitting right there in front of you, and instead of getting another impact offensive weapon to go alongside Devontae Adams, man, we know how dominant he can be when he's out there on the football field. Imagine if he's not getting double-teamed every single play, how much crazier his numbers would be, how much more explosive this offense would be. You think about who does Green Bay need to beat to get over the hump? And you just point to that 49ers game. All season I said, Green Bay just don't do it for me. And I just don't know. And now after watching them through the course of that season and being at that moment right there, that pivotal moment where you got that first-round draft pick that's like gold, you go out and you draft a quarterback, and in your words, you say he ain't going to play for 3 years?
Well, yeah, I do think, guys, that this is kind of sending a message to Aaron Rodgers. You see Aaron make a lot of his great plays over the years, and in those off-schedule type of plays, James, you were a part of a lot of them, where he kind of gets out of the pocket, do something dazzling with his arm, puts the ball downfield, where only Aaron Rodgers can put the ball. And I think Matt LaFleur and this coaching staff, they kind of want him to play a little bit more in the structure of this offense a little bit. And so when you bring in a first-round quarterback, that does add a little bit of pressure. But for the Packers' sake, let's just hope that Aaron Rodgers is a great mentor to their new quarterback in Jordan Love.
The Saints have the same quarterback in Drew Brees. Let's get some next-gen stats, guys, powered by AWS. The Saints had trouble stretching the field last year. I mean, this board may surprise you. They didn't go wide receiver in the first round to help this out. They actually went O-line. They got a new center, or maybe he's a guard. Here's Cesar Ruiz with our James Slater.
Now, when we talk about what you guys are blocking for, it's stacked. Alvin Kamara, Drew Brees, Michael Thomas. They added Emmanuel Sanders. While we were getting ready to set up this interview, I saw you looking down. I heard a familiar voice in the distance. Can you tell the fans who sent you a video message?
Yeah, I was before we started, I had just got a text message from Drew Brees, and he had sent me a video, basically just welcoming me to the team.
Hey, bro. Welcome to the squad, man. Heard a lot about you. I love your journey, man. I love your work ethic. I love smart, gritty, tough guys, man. That's what sounds like you are.
Okay, so what's going through your head? I imagine you had a lot of text messages last night. Where does that one stand out?
That's my quarterback. That one stands out among all of them. That's my quarterback, and being able to, have a quarterback like that, future Hall of Famer, somebody is gonna be able to mentor me, teach me a lot, and somebody who's, is a great leader, and learning from a guy like that, being able to protect him is just amazing.
All right, that was pretty cool there. Cesar Ruiz getting the message. Brian Billick and Steve Smith from Drew Brees. Saints made the playoffs last year. Let's try to get teams into the playoffs. Steve, which team, not the Saints obviously, is ready to make the leap in 2020 into the postseason?
For me, it has to be the Dallas Cowboys. With CeeDee Lamb dropping to the 17th pick for the Dallas Cowboys, they offensively have become a defensive coordinator's nightmare. Now, you got to think about it. When you want to attempt to slow down Ezekiel Elliott, you got to put 9 men in the box. So now all of a sudden, if you have to do that, now the opposing defensive coordinators and the coaching staff, they have to decide who are they going to leave out on the island. Is it Michael Gallup, who has shown glimpses that he can play this football game at a high level, as the Dallas Cowboy level? CeeDee Lamb, man, say your prayers and hope for the best. And then Amari Cooper has shown us time and time again, you cannot cover him one-on-one. And Dak Prescott is going to have a play. He could just play all day with all of these different guys and manipulate the defense. So I really look at the Dallas Cowboys as this team that all of a sudden leapfrogs everybody, goes in the playoffs, and is blowing and going, hitting the ground running.
Well, you talk about leapfrogging, when you talk about how bad the Miami Dolphins were, but for them to leapfrog into the playoffs, they kind of got hot near the end of the year. Obviously, with the drafting of the quarterback, Tua, they took an offensive tackle with the next pick. But the free agency acquisitions that they made, Byron Jones, Kyle Van Noy, Jordan Howard, Shaq Lawson, Eric Flowers, I mean, they transformed this team in a division now that for the first time in 15 years is truly, in play. So obviously it's all about the young quarterback, but the movement that they've made near the end of the year, what they've done with free agency and now with the draft, I think Miami Dolphins could be very much a playoff caliber team.
I always say it's the Patriots division until further notice. This might be that further notice. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Steve. We roll on now on NFL Total Access coming up after the break. The perfect draft grade might just be an F, as in he is a perfect fit for the team that got what you can do to support your small businesses by ordering to go or buying gift cards, by shopping local online. You can visit Verizon.com/PayItForwardLive for more information. And while you're on the web, please go to NFL.com as well. Bucky Brooks has a great new column about some of the better fits that he saw from the 3 days of the draft. It's NFL.com/Brooks for Bucky's column. Who's with me now live on Total Access, Daniel Jeremiah as well. Bucky, let's find some perfect fits here. Give me a perfect fit for Thursday and day one.
Oh, Brandon Ayuk going to the San Francisco 49ers is a perfect fit. They basically got a clone in Deebo Samuel. So they have a wingback, meaning half running back, half wide receiver. Brandon Ayuk is explosive with the ball in his hands. He can do so much. His versatility, his toughness, his explosiveness adds a dimension to that offense for sure.
Yeah, that wingback is almost like a Mog, a half man, half dog, if you want to go back to that movie. But I'm going to go with Kenneth Murray as being my best fit in the first round. The linebacker for the Chargers, they trade back up in to get him. And to me, when you look at the length and the athleticism that he has, the range, when you're trying to compete against the Kansas City Chiefs, that's going to come in handy. And there's going to be times where you're going to see him and Derwin James lined up next to each other on third downs, and both are outstanding blitzers. I just think it's a great toy there for Gus Bradley in that defense.
All right, DJ, I defy you now. I dare you to give me another random movie reference for your day two perfect fit.
Well, I don't have a random reference for Van Jefferson, but Van Jefferson is my favorite fit. I could go TV a Van down by the river. I guess I could do the Chris Farley thing, but he's going to be a Van down in L.A. To me, he reminded me of Cooper Kupp when I watched him, and now he's going to be teammates with Cooper Kupp with the Los Angeles Rams. He's a pristine route runner, and that's what Sean McVay covets in that offense. So you lose one with Cooks leaving, with Brandon Cooks out, and now you put Van Jefferson in, and I think it's just a beautiful fit.
DJ, I love the fit. We've talked about Van Jefferson since watching him at the Senior Bowl. He was one of the best receivers there, particularly as a route runner. But I got a guy who is a perfect fit in Buffalo. Bills Mafia should be excited because they got a guy in A.J. Epinesa who fits the culture. And when I talk about the culture that's been established by Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane, I'm talking about blue-collar workers, worker bees, guys that come to work with no fanfare, guys that get after it. A.J. Epinesa does that. When you look at the Iowa standout, power rusher off the edge, high motor, relentless spirit, has some versatility where he can kick inside and maybe be a sub-pass rusher. I love his fit. I think he is an ideal player to fit into that locker room and to fit in that scheme.
NFL.com/Brooks. Not for random movie references, but for Bucky's column on perfect fits. Thank you, Bucky. Thank you, DJ, as we continue now. The draft was so much fun. Let's do it again next year. It's going to be a little bit later on the calendar, but it is now official. The draft for 2021 is going to begin April 29 in Cleveland. April into May next year. And oh, by the way, it is not too late to donate to the Draftathon. For more information, resources, and for details on how you can support the nonprofits providing relief for those significantly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, please go to NFL.com/relief. What a great thing the Draftathon was for 3 days, and it's still going. By the way, Commissioner Goodell was busy with the draft this past weekend. He was also busy making Ravens fan Dr. Hazim El-Haddad's weekend.
Who's this? Roger Goodell. Oh my God, hey, Roger, how you doing? I just want to tell you the number one draft choice of the Baltimore Ravens, but that's okay. If you don't have time, it's all right. I was on. Oh my God. No, holy cow, I'm so sorry. I was talking to patients and I saw. No, I'd rather have you take care of the patients. I'll call you back. No, it's okay. I was actually done. I thought it was a follow-up call. I was like confused how they got my number. So we want to invite you to be our guest to attend the Super Bowl next year. 2 tickets to the Super Bowl next year. To thank you. Oh my God, are you serious? Yep, this right here. Can you see it? Yes. We'll send this to you, but it's going to be 2 tickets to the Super Bowl next year in Tampa. And we want you. Oh my God, thank you so We want you to be a guest. Amazing. Well, you deserve it.
That's great. This is great, too. That's Eric Armstead of the 49ers. He recently surprised a class of second graders in California with an Earth Day virtual visit. Through his platform, Eric has launched the Armstead Academic Project, which works to ensure all students have access to a quality education. Before we were social distancing, Eric Armstead actually did this during the regular season. On his only off day of the week when the 49ers were trying to win the NFC Championship, he would drive back and forth an hour each way to his hometown of Sacramento to do exactly that in person, to talk to kids. More on Eric Armstead and his work in the community from Omar Ruiz.
When we started the Inspire Change series, Eric Armstead's story immediately came to mind, knowing what he did in the community, knowing what he did at Leah Tata Floyd Elementary School. So I called him up and said, hey, would you be interested in telling this story? When you were first looking at ways to help and what to do, how did educational quality become your focus?
I start to sit down and think about how I can have the biggest impact on young people's lives. And I think the number one thing is their education and the inequality in our education system compared to low-income areas and affluential neighborhoods. And I really wanted to decrease that divide and try to see how I could help.
Looked like those kids recognized you right away.
A lot of the kids come to my camps and writing workshops and all that, so I've been familiar with a bunch of them. I remember a lot of their faces. Been working with this community for some years now. They need it dearly.
Why do they need it dearly?
Leah Tata Floyd is a Title I school, so a high percentage of the students are poverty-stricken, and right across the street is government housing, and 95% of the students that go here live right across the street.
One of the first things he did to support us was send our kids to a writing workshop. He didn't just send our kids there, he actually went there with them. He did a football camp and he was there. It wasn't just like, I'm gonna send kids to a football camp. It's like, no, I wanna be part of this with kids. And that makes a big difference.
Are you ready? I have someone very important who's going to come and read a book for you.
Who is it? Mr. Armstead! Yay!
Hey!
A lot of kids are born with real disadvantages.
The name of this book is